EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365, kicking off a new week here, week 2 of the NFL free agency period, diving into the offseason, into the new year. Johnny Mac, how you doing this Monday morning, brother?
I'm doing well. We got a double shot of music there going there. Happy St. Patty's Day for all those who want to get a little day drunk.
Yeah, I had to go green hat, John. You called it out pre-show. I had to go green hat today for the great people and St. Patty's Day. People love St. Patty's Day, so I hope everybody has a great St. Patty's Day. Today, we'll kick it around here for 2 hours with you guys on Birds 365. For those who don't know, Birds 365, a live daily Eagles show, 8 to 10 a.m. every weekday, all right? So we got you covered, one of the best Eagles shows on the planet. So we're told by the great listeners of Birds 365. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's John McMullen, my co-host, the number one Eagles beat reporter in town. Johnny Mac, not much change since we last spoke on Friday evening for Football 24/7, other than Mekhi Becton has departed, which wrapped up, John, a week of key departures for this football team. Now, I'm not going to go doom and gloom on it, but the reality is that 2024 Super Bowl team is gone. It's history. It'll never return, Johnny Mac. But you lost some key departures, the latest being Mekhi Becton. I wanted to start off the show asking you about the loss of Mekhi and your thoughts on that.
Well, number one, I didn't think you were wrong when you said super team. They were a super team, and that's part of the problem. They had too many good players, so they have to understand. That's what this offseason is about. How we called it different. It's going to look a little bit different. It certainly has. I think. Again, it's not about the moment. It's about longer term. They know what's coming down the pike with Jalen Carter, Cam Jurgens, right, et cetera, even if you want to go two years down the road. Nolan Smith's in that first group. If you want to go 2 years down the road, it's Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Who knows? It might even be Jalen Hunt. Could be on and on and on. So, it's always about more than the moment, but I get – after a month after the Super Bowl and, it's Isaiah Rodgers, it's Milton Williams, it's Josh Sweat, it's Oren Burks, it's Kenny Gainwell, it's Mekhi Becton, it's Paris Campbell even, who also left over the weekend. So I get why fans are a little bit upset about it, a little bit worried about it. But I will say that to your point of, that Super Bowl team, they was never going to return. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. There's always going to be turnover. Now, do you want this kind of massive turnover? No, but I think if you look at it contextually, everybody understands why Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, for the most part, are not here. Big money. It comes down to the lesser money guys. Could you have signed Isaiah Rodgers? From their perspective, they don't consider him an outside starting corner. They consider him a good backup, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. He got borderline sort of starter money in Minnesota, so I think that's understandable. Oren Burks, what a great postseason run for Oren Burks. I was legitimately concerned when the Kobe Dean went down against the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. And Oren Burks stepped in and just didn't miss a beat. Was just phenomenal in the run to the Super Bowl. Got 2 years. You don't pay backup linebackers $2.5 million. That's not how it works. For 1 year at the veteran minimum, like they got him last year. Of course they would have brought him back, but you don't do that at backup linebacker, especially when you have a younger guy on a cost-effective deal that you like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Kenny Gainwell, if you look at what they paid AJ Dillon, which is basically going to be the veteran minimum with some incentives, would you rather have Kenny Gainwell back? Maybe. And that's all he got, essentially, from Pittsburgh, a little bit more. But maybe Kenny didn't want to come back. Maybe Kenny wants a larger role. Right. I think people forget it's a two-way street.
Yeah, right. It's just because the Eagles are interested it doesn't mean it's going to work out. Right.
So he's the one where I look at the contract and say, well, they could have matched that. And he's probably a better fit. Sirianni loves him. Saquon loves him. Jalen loves him. Why not bring him back? Maybe he wants a bigger role. Maybe he wants to prove himself so he can go back on the free agent market next year and make some bigger money.
Yeah, and John, the other part of that too is it's one thing to be a backup running back. It's another thing to be the backup to Saquon Barkley.
Exactly.
Who's lighting the league on fire, who's, obviously has the accolades, the career, the whole hype and the hoopla. So that makes it harder even then, I think, as a backup. It's one thing to back up, another guy, but you back up Saquon, that's like more.
Yeah,
nobody remembers you, man.
Most teams are going to use more of a rotation. And I don't think Kenny's going to start in Pittsburgh, but he's going to touch the football more, which is kind of the point as far as proving yourself. And I think most people don't care or understand Paris Campbell, which leaves Mekhi Becton.
Paris signed with the Cowboys, by the way, for those wondering. Yeah.
And again, he signed for 2 years, $10 million per year, 2 hurdles the Eagles weren't going to go to. They weren't going to go 2 years, and they weren't going to go $10 million. One thing I've heard pretty consistently is you can't play five guys, $10 million. Can't. Which is 2 things. Testament to Cam's getting paid. Testament to Mekhi was walking out the door if he got near that number. Now, if he signed for 1 year, $7 million, I think that's a discussion.
Yeah. So they wanted. Was that from your estimation? Was that what the Eagles wanted? Just 1 year?
Definitely just 1 year.
Yeah, that's tough. I could see why Mekhi wouldn't want to take that. I mean, back-to-back 1 year deals. I know he's got the knee issues, but I'd be looking for a little bit more.
Of course, everybody. As soon as you get to that 2 year, back in the day, Kaiser White. As soon as they got to 2 years, Eagles were out. When you talk about those types of players, you don't want to go to that second year.
I thought Mekhi was a little better than that type of player, but I get it.
He was.
One thing that appears evident, John, is they are disciplined this offseason and who they want to pay, man.
They're always pretty disciplined, but they're very disciplined. I mean, one thing that's underreported, and things can change, but most of the big money deals are up. And right now they're projected to have 4 compensatory picks in 2026, which is the maximum he can have.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a 3rd rounder for losing Milt, 4th rounder for losing Sweat, 5th rounder for losing Becton, 6th rounder for losing Rodgers. Right now, that can change. So I think people don't understand. You don't just get compensatory picks. It's a little bit formula.
Fluid. Yeah, it's fluid. Right?
Yeah. It involves all 31 other teams. It involves gains and losses. It involves the size of the contracts. So that's where it's projected right now. But obviously the Eagles were very disciplined, understanding what they were trying to do. They're playing the compensatory pick game. So if you sign a big money player, not re-sign, so this does not count with Mekhi Becton or Zack Baun, who they did re-sign. It's not about your own players. It's about the guys you sign outside the organization and the guys you lose that you had. All the guys the Eagles had got big money deals relatively, and the guys they brought in, Tamu, so they're not losing. It's not getting canceled out. The one guy, Adoree Jackson, don't have full details, but $2.5 million. Maybe he could work out to be a 7th round compensatory pick. Maybe that cancels something out down the road, but doubtful. And that's the game Howie's been playing.
John, are they playing this offseason right from your estimation right now? I did something this weekend, and I did it just for fun. And no, I'm not going to make you do it because I know that's not your style. And I was really just having fun with it a little bit, just looking at the week. And I put out a grade. I'm like, week 1, let's look, because we've lost a boatload of people and we've added a boatload of people. All right, so let's just look at this. And I put out that they did a C+ because I do think the team got worse. You lost key guys and you added a bunch of, as John said, some Temu signings. But I can say that and understand. I know why they're doing it. They're trying to get get the house in order, if that makes sense, for what they have coming in the future and for what they have roster management wise coming in the future. From your estimation, John, is the way they're playing this offseason the right way to play it?
Yeah, well, from the standpoint of understanding what's coming down the pike, that's why I don't like grades. I'm not blaming you. Everybody does
I'm not
grades,
asking you to make
but because everyone is worried about the moment. So yeah, in the moment it looks bad. I mean, they lost a bunch of good players,
right?
And they brought in a bunch of lottery tickets. So yeah, in the moment it looks bad. But when you have the money to re-up Jalen Carter, when you have the cash to re-up Cam Jurgens, when you have the cash to re-up Nolan Smith, everybody's happy about it. So, they've made this decision to draw the big line in the sand. And guys like Milton and Josh and Mekhi were below it. And maybe even Dallas Goedert. We'll see how that shakes out. They're below it. And the guys above it are the guys that are already done, which includes Zack Baun this offseason. But also, if you want to go back, if you saw what happened overnight with Cincinnati, having to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Now look at Devontae Smith and AJ Brown's deals.
Holy crap. Those deals are nuts.
Yeah. So, the Landon Dickersons of the world, the Jalen Hurts, the AJs, the DeMontes, Lane back in the day, and again Zack Baun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it'll be Jalen Carter, Cam Jurgens, et cetera. That's what they've done. Are they going to get them all right? Maybe Milton Williams turns into an all-pro in New England. Maybe Josh Sweat has 15
I hope he does.
sacks.
I still wouldn't be mad they let him walk if he did, because what are you going to do? He wasn't the all-pro here, and they have the guy in the room that's going to be the all-pro.
Well,
so,
and already is second-team all-pro last year, Jalen Carter. I mean, they made the decisions. You can't pay two of them. You can't pay Jalen Carter $35-40 million and pay Milton Williams $26 million. It's not fantasy football. It's not just everybody's got, the salary cap is very malleable. The Eagles do a better job at that than just about anybody, but it does exist.
Right.
You just it's not a never-ending flow of just sign whoever you want. And I think that was sort of the narrative, because you got Joe Burrow saying the Eagles sign everybody. They've never signed everybody. They sign who they want to sign, and they do it early to get some cost-effective rates. Even that, you got a very small window, because trust me, as these wide receiver numbers keep going up and up and up,
how about that?
AJ and Devontae's agents are going to be knocking on the door. So you're buying yourself probably 12 to 16 to 18 months. But that's an important 12 to 18 months. It's just the way of the world. And, I get fans sometimes don't like talking about the business, and they don't care, and they just want to bring the Super Bowl team back, but it's not realistic.
Yeah, no, I get it.
There's 30% turnover in the NFL every year anyway. What makes you think it's going to be different with a Super Bowl team?
Yeah,
Super Bowl team is harder because people want to break off a piece of the Super. Oh, let's go get Milton Williams. Let's go get Josh Sweat.
Yeah, put a couple $1 million premium on every player that hit the market.
Exactly. Let's go get Mekhi Becton. And I do want to say something about Mekhi Becton, because he got 2 years and $20 million, and he played better than that. But again, I tried to tell everybody there were other issues with Mekhi Becton. Some of them with the knee, some see him as a tackle, some see him as a guard. He's going to play guard with the Chargers. But you got like Baldy out there calling him the best guard in the NFL last year as well. He wasn't even the best guard on his team. So there's sort of this hype machine of winning the Super Bowl. And what a great story. The Reclamation Project, the tears with his son. And he did have a great season. And not only that, his highlights were phenomenal. And how many times do you see highlights? Here's the pancake. Here's this.
Right. Here's the big Saquon run right behind Vic Fangio. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I saw the Chargers put out one of those highlights, and some troll put up right behind it Jared Verse eating him alive because he got him off balance. You know, there's 900 snaps to evaluate, and everybody gets focused on the highlights, and the highlights were brilliant for Mekhi Becton this year. And he had a great year and a great reclamation project, but he's not even the best guard on the Eagles. Let's be honest.
Right.
And it's not close. So where do you draw the line? When you and by the way, when you have Tyler Steen and you have Kenyon Green and you're trying to go for the reclamation project, and even Trevor Keegan, you got a bunch of bodies for Jeff Stoutland to work with. Are they going to be Mekhi Becton next year? Probably not. But are they going to be competent enough to win and competent enough to keep you as the best offensive line in football? As long as the other four guys keep playing like the other four guys, they will.
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny because, you look at the free agency period. A lot of the NFL was feasting on the Eagles roster. They're like, boy, that's where some of the best free agents are coming from with the Eagles roster. And I do think the other point, specifically about Becton is, and I think this applies to Milton Williams too, when you have great players, especially on the offensive line, you just named them, the other four guys on that offensive line. You go to the defensive line, you do have Jalen Carter. When you have those type of players, the guys who are next to them is typically a position that you look to save money, right? I mean, I don't need two incredible tackles when I have the greatness of Jalen Carter. I don't need 5 amazing offensive linemen when I have 4 that are all pro level. So I think they're trying to save money where they can in certain spots, and they probably feel good about replacing Mekhi Becton. But, John, moving forward, what does that look like? You just kind of brought up some of the names. They brought in Kenyon Green. They have a couple. Tyler Steen's obviously, I think, the front runner to win that job. Maybe could bring in a couple of more bodies. What do you think life looks like here after Mekhi Becton?
Well, yeah, those are the 3 names in-house. If you talk about the draft at 32, that depends on what the 31 other teams do before you. And if the offensive line and the kid from North Dakota State is there, who knows? They might even take him there if they can't trade down. And all of a sudden, he's your starting right guard. So things can change. Things are fluid. But one thing, there's enough bodies to be comfortable, certainly. And then there's certain coaches you trust more than others. And Jeff Stoutland's at the top of the list. And I'm not talking the top of the Eagles list when it comes to trust, probably top of the NFL's list when it comes to trust. You would think one of those 3 bodies, Tyler Steen, Kenyon Green, Trevor Keegan, would, somebody's going to be able to step up.
Yeah.
And play at least a competent level. And for me, I'm most interested in seeing Kenyon Green because let's be honest, he's got the best traits. Obviously, he was a disaster in Houston. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but people would have said the same thing about Mekhi Becton coming in here last year, and did.
Yeah. And similarly, he had the best traits, which is why he was a first-round pick then as well.
Exactly. So, if Stoutland can lock into that, you might have a similar situation from a reclamation standpoint. Different players, different styles of players. It's not going to look the same, but he'd be the one I'm most intrigued by of the 3, and that's because he's got the most raw physical talent. There's a reason he's the 15th overall pick, and Tyler Steen's the 3rd round pick, and Trevor Keegan's the 5th round pick.
Yeah, we'll see. Trevor Keegan's out there. I mean, he's kind of a guy that's a little bit not remembered right now because he was drafted last year, as you mentioned, in the 5th round. He spent all year on the practice squad, right? The whole year?
No, he was on the roster. He just didn't play. He played a little bit in the Week 18 game. Didn't start, but came in and rotated. But they kept him on the roster, but they kind of redshirted him. He was basically an inactive guy every week.
I liked him coming out of college. I remember him played at Michigan. Well, he was the captain for them, I think, for all 4 years he was there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I liked him. I liked him coming out, but they didn't do much of them last year. It'll be interesting to see if he.
Well, he's a rookie. He's a rookie 5th round pick.
Right. Got to give him some time.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with redshirting a rookie day 3 pick and trying to develop him behind the scenes. That's what's going on with Tanner McKee at quarterback. I think people look at it high-profile positions. They understand it for some. They understand everything about quarterback. Nothing about any other position. It's like it's a fifth-round pick. Sometimes guys like that around the league are forced into action and have to play. He's a fifth-round pick with the best offensive line and maybe the modern era of football in front of him. He's not going to play. It's not a rotational position
right.
Unless guys get hurt. So, yeah, there's way too many people writing Trevor Keegan off. Who's he going to play for? Yeah,
we'll see if he can. I think he's going to have a chance at least this offseason. Go and prove yourself. We'll see if he grew into that NFL body after year one in the league, and good stuff there, Johnny Mac. So, John, there you go. There's your latest news from Friday night. It came down. What did you think of the deal? We didn't see any guaranteed money on Becton yet, did we? It was 2 years, $20 million is what I saw. But as I mentioned to you on Friday's show, I was building furniture and stuff all weekend with my brother. So that was fun, but I didn't have a chance to lock in too much. Did the guaranteed money or any of that come out?
No, the details haven't come out. And as always, it'll be a little bit less good than it does look at first. And that'll just probably upset Eagles fans more. But yeah, I think once it got to 2 years, the Eagles were essentially out.
Yeah. They were looking for another 1 year with Mekhi and ultimately didn't get it, but good stuff. We wish Mekhi well. He was one of my favorite stories of the year, John. I did love the way he was, he was emotional about getting back and finding his love for football again. So I wish him all the best, and we appreciate what he did here for Philly. So good stuff by him. We're going to talk to Mike Gill, hopefully coming up here in a little bit on Birds 365. For those who
might forget, it's not his normal day, but Mike's going to.
And Jeff Kerr is normally on Mondays, and he's traveling right now back from Florida. So we'll see if we get Jeff Kerr up tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have Mike Gill today for you guys. But still plenty to talk about here as we move into week 2 of the offseason. We're going to talk NFL draft. We're going to talk what's next for the Philadelphia Eagles. What does week 2 look like, right? I mean, you're the free agency window's open, but most of the best players are off the board, and it's kind of slim pickings. But we'll talk about what the Eagles are going to do there. Before we do that, I'm going to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. By the way, I do want to thank all you guys for being here on this Monday. Johnny Mac and I had a great week 1 of free agency. Thanks to you guys for tuning in every day. So appreciate all you guys for being here. Hit that like button for us. We appreciate that very much. Before we get to the break, let me tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go check them out. It's betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Use the promo code you see on your screen right now. That's YouTube 150. It gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. We'll be right back in 3 minutes, everybody, on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Appreciate you guys all checking in. Week 2 of NFL free agency period kicks off. The new league year kicked off last week, and here we are in week 2. Eagles lost a bunch of their free agents, obviously, and signed a bunch of new guys as well, a bunch of darts, little Temu signings that Johnny Mac and I have talked about. Johnny Mac, I want to hit a super chat, and then I got to talk to you about the NFL deal that came down last night. We mentioned it in segment 1, but we didn't talk extensively about it. Massive deal for the Cincinnati Bengals duo of wide receivers, and this shows you why Howie gets to the table early. Let's go to Brian Pumper. Super chat. What's a show without a Brian Pumper super? He says, as predicted by Pumper Damas, traded CJ to start Kenyon, PFF Warrior, Howie washed season.
I got bad news for you, Pumper. Kenyon Green had the worst PFF grades of any guard in the NFL. So I don't know. You've been missing the target recently, my friend. I appreciate the attempt, though.
Appreciate the super, brother, but off target, as Johnny Mac mentioned. John, let's talk about that deal with Cincinnati Bengals. For those who did not see it, both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins landed new deals last night. They were released at the same exact time. They almost put it out as like a joint thing to Jordan Schultz. Hey, both of us got new deals. Massive money for both of them. Jamar Chase got 4 years, $161 million, with I don't know how many million guaranteed, $112 million guaranteed. And T. Higgins gets 4 years, $115 million with the first 2 years guaranteed, making him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. Now, who's counting, Johnny Mac? But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, as expensive as they are a lot cheaper than Jamar and T. Higgins. Your first thoughts, John?
Yeah, well, I mean, we got to see the real deals, but no surprise that Jamar Chase set the new ceiling coming off the season. He had triple crown winner, so to speak, amongst receivers. A little bit of a surprise they went that far on T. Higgins, especially when you consider the team. I know Andrew Brandt already tweeted, he wants to see the real deals as well, specifically the guarantees past this season, because those are the ones that require the team funding right away. That you don't have to pay it right away, but if you agree to pay it, you have to have it in escrow. You have to have it on hand, and that's always been a difficult deal for the Bengals and the Brown family because they're not as financially well heeled as the Stan Kroenkes and the Jerry Joneses of the world. Who are the, richest of the rich. Everybody's rich, but there's different levels of richness in the NFL. So the Bengals are traditionally a team, the Raiders as well, that have difficulty signing these big money deals And they've had to do it with Joe Burrow and now Jamar Chase and now T. Higgins. So it's going to be interesting to see how they build the rest of the team. And that's where Duke Tobin comes in. I always give Duke Tobin a ton of respect because he does everything himself, basically, with a 6-man scouting staff, as opposed to the Eagles who are like 20 deep. So I've always been very impressed by Duke Tobin. But yeah, I mean, you got to pay your good players, and those are both good players. I am a little bit surprised that they signed Higgins, though, to a long-term deal.
Me too. I'm not as enamored by Higgins as other. I think
I love the player.
I'm not saying he's not a good player. I just, for a team that's typically a little bit cash strapped and is, trying to build an offensive line and a defense and all these things, I thought that they were going to let him walk. I'm not saying I don't like T. Higgins. I do think he's a good player, but I didn't think he was going to be back in Cincinnati.
Traditionally, that's how the Bengals would go about it. Well, we have to pay Chase, so we're not going to pay Higgins. So that's the strange part, that they paid them both. And you're right. I mean, the Bengals made a Super Bowl with a terrible offensive line, which tells you.
Probably would have won, though, if they had a better offensive line.
Probably. Which tells you how good Joe Burrow is. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they build out the rest of their team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Bob Brown checks in. Bob, you took the words right out of my mouth. He says, since he doesn't have the foundation and the O-line to throw that kind of money at 2 wide receivers, franchise QB with 2 number 1 wideouts and nobody to block. Bob, I agree, man. Eagles didn't pay AJ Brown and Devontae Smith until after they had the best offensive line in football. So, or top 3, top 5, wherever you want to put them. Subject a little bit of subjectivity there. I think they're the best in the NFL, but I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work for Cincinnati. I know everybody wanted the deals to get done, but they came, and boy, are they getting paid, John.
Yeah, I always like when Bob Brown pops up because they're Bob Brown, Hall of Fame Eagles offensive line from the 60s. So, but yeah, I mean, that's what happened the first time. Their offensive line was very shaky. Seattle too, when they were going to Super Bowls, it's very rare when you can go that far with a less, at least less than average, I would say, to be kind, offensive line. So yeah, I mean, I think you see it every time when there's a great quarterback in the Super Bowl who gets stymied, whether it's Patrick Mahomes this year or Tom Brady against the New York Giants. It's always the same reason. If you can't block people, you can't play offense in this league.
No doubt about it. So you look at these deals and compare them to the Eagles, right? Talking about the Bengals, you got, and we'll see, as John mentioned, let's see what the real deals are when they come out. But just going by what's reported right now, you look at Jamar Chase, $40.25 million average annual value, which is just insane for a wide receiver. I thought AJ Brown at 32 was going to be toward the top for a while. We're already at 40. What's Jalen Carter going to get paid next year? We will see. T. Higgins with $28.75 million average annual value, and Joe Burrow with $55 million average annual value. Then you have in Philly, AJ Brown, $32 million average annual value. Devontae Smith, $25 million average annual value. And Jalen Hurts, $51 million average annual value. And obviously those Eagles contracts, the bookkeeping is a little bit better than it reads there. But, boy, this is why you do deals early, John. This is exactly why you do deals early, because I don't know what the millions are off the top of my head, but Eagles saved a lot of money getting Devontae and AJ under contract early.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Banner was out there tweeting early this morning, and I always give Joe the credit because he started this, really, and he's the one who taught Howie, so you have to give Joe some credit to strike early. And he just said mostly the value of doing deals early. Elliott was actually comparing the deals of AJ and Devontae to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So Joe was responding to that. Bizarre that the league hasn't copied this across all teams. Tremendous value to teams that utilize this strategy. How long have I been talking about it? It's because it's been going on here for 2 decades, more than 2 decades. Teams don't copy the right things. I've said it 100 times on this show. They're worried about schemes and players and this and that. Copy the foundational structure, and you have a better chance to make good decisions. You still got to be right on players.
Yeah,
Like if
but
the
you
Eagles,
to your point, you give yourself a little bit more lenience when you do follow the foundational structure. Look at the Eagles. They signed Bryce Huff. He was a bust for at least in year one.
yeah,
He didn't even
exactly.
dress
You
in the
always get
Super
them
Bowl,
wrong,
and
You
they won
always
the
get-
Super Bowl because
Yeah.
their process was right.
That's what I think people don't understand. You got to embrace the fact that you're not going to get everything right from an evaluation standpoint. And there are going to be mistakes. And, you adjust to those mistakes. But as long as you hit, at a decent rate, plus 50% in the draft, it's got to be a little bit better when you're talking about extensions because you have information. It's hard to screw up AJ and Devontae and Landon and players like that. But even players like that, this is the NFL. There's always injury concerns when you outlie this, and you have to have an owner willing to take on that risk.
Right.
And the Eagles have it all. And that is to bind this era, which has been 3 Super Bowls in 8 years, 2 Super Bowl wins. And that's what people should be copying, but they're worried about breaking off a piece of whether it's the Patriots with Milt or the Cardinals with Josh or even the Chargers with Mekhi, breaking off a piece of the Eagles' success on the field. And I'm not trying to downplay those guys because they were tremendous parts of the Eagles' success. But that's not the reason they're a Super Bowl team. Individual players are not the reason they're a Super Bowl team. Any individual player.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, I do think the other part of the team building philosophy that you're talking about that gets missed is, 2-minute warning checks in from X. Appreciate you watching from Twitter. Mediocre O-line, can't stop the run or pass, but great job signing T. Like the money too.
Well, but no offense, Eagles fans, but if you were the Cincinnati Bengals and you were losing skill position players, you'd be losing your fucking minds.
Yeah, you would, but we I guess we're maybe a little spoiled here. John, when's the last time we've honestly looked at the Eagles and said, "Man, our offensive line isn't very good"? It's been over a decade, I think.
Long time, and older fans know the pain because it wasn't always like that pre-Jeff Stoutland. The amount of all pros, you got to go back to the days of Bob Brown. The amount of all pros and Pro Bowlers from like 70 to 90 on the Eagles offensive line was non-existent. And every year, when Isaac was here, every single player was either an all-pro, a Pro Bowler, or a Pro Bowl alternate. Every single one of them. And that's happened a few times. And this year, it didn't. It surprised me because Mekhi didn't get that honor. He should have. He should have been at least an alternate at the bare minimum. But they had 4 of 5 this year. Yeah, it's ridiculous, this offensive line. And I told you, there's XGM who told me, thinks it's the best offense. Last year's offensive line, he thought was the best offensive line he's ever seen. Ever. As in history. And this is not a young man. Ever. So, yeah, there's a little bit of spoiledness to the Eagles offensive line.
Well, it is. We are. You're right. I mean, we are a little bit spoiled, but it's a credit to the organization because they've identified the right thing to make us spoiled about because it gives you a lot better chance to be a good football team that competes late in January and into February. So they've done that obviously 3 times in 8 years, and they've won 2 of those. So they're doing something right, and I think that's a big part of it on the offensive line. Johnny Mac, let's move into a little bit of what's to come now this week. We recapped last week. They're Temu shopping, all right? John has dubbed that. I'm hearing it now all over, John. I got people on Twitter, they're Temu shopping. I'm like, Johnny Mac needed to trademark that thing when he said that on Friday's edition of Birds 365. But well done by you. Moving into the week 2 here now, John, of free agency. what's it look like moving forward into this week? I know you're probably not going and getting big names. There is a couple of names that are still out there. You look at Azeez Ojulari. He's still out there. There's a couple of guys that are still out there. Kaiser White. We talked about maybe needing some linebacker depth. Do you want a reunion with him? There's safety Julian Blackman, defensive end DeMarcus Walker, safety Justin Simmons. People in Philly seem to love talking about Justin Simmons every offseason, but I don't know if any of those even make sense. But what does it look like? Like, what's the philosophy for the team moving into week 2 here of the free agency period?
Well, I think it's more the same. If you look at if you look at what they've done, and just doing some business on air, it looks like Mike is stirring. He thought it was, he forgot. So hopefully he's going to hop on here soon. Yeah. But so they have a bunch of young players they want to step up. And if you look at what they've done, whether it's, starting it, we'll run down the positions. Quarterback 2, Tanner McKee, they want him to step up. They trade for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, to get some competition. Running back 2, they want Will Shipley to step up. AJ Dillon to give him some type of floor in case Will doesn't. Tight end, I would still say 2. I find it very hard to believe that they think Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson can replace Dallas Goedert. You still need a headliner, but they can push Grant Calcaterra, Tyler Steen. We mentioned some of the names. But outside the organization, the biggest name would be Kenyon Green, edge rusher. With Alex Hunt, you got Josh Uche. Linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the backup. You haven't done anything there. So that would be a position to keep an eye on. Safety, Sidney Brown, they want to step up. They haven't done anything there. They have Lewis Seen, Tristan McCullum in-house, but I don't think that's good enough. And defensive tackle. Those are the 3 positions I think you should focus on. They were redundant at tight end. I don't think they're going to go out and get Azeez Ojulari after signing Josh Uche. Now, if it's 1 year for the veteran minimum,
right? Maybe they'll do it.
Corner, same thing. You get Adoree Jackson. So where they still need some help, whether it's creating that Adoree Jackson-like floor at a position, I would say would be defensive tackle, number 1, because that's a potential starter. And then safety, which is where the Simmons stuff comes in his history with Vic Fangio, which people will evidently not – they wouldn't stop talking about it last year until he signed with Atlanta.
Stop this year. We'll see if a move ends up happening there. We got a very special Monday edition here, kicking off week 2 of the Temu offseason. I see Mike Gill in the green room joining us here. That's a special Monday show when you're getting Mike Gill up. So let's go to Mike Gill joining us now on Birds 365. Mike, welcome to the show, man. How you doing on this Monday morning? Normally we talk to you on a Wednesday, but we're have the privilege of talking to you on this Monday. How you doing, Mike?
I'm all right, man. I had my days mixed up. Sorry about that. Ready to go.
All right.
No problem. You got a lot of traveling. You got your Clearwater trip to get ready for. That's why we're not getting Mike on Wednesday this week. So he's nice enough to juggle around. Jeff's Kerr stuck in, I think he made it to Atlanta coming back from Florida. But it was windy here, Mike. So the airlines, they shut everything down.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse in the world, by the way, than airlines post-COVID. Nothing.
Oh, my God.
Well,
I've never seen an industry care little or less about the customer, about the paying customer.
The Orlando airport is one I do not recommend. I've not had a lot of bad.
I'm with you.
I have not had a lot of bad airline problems. I'm generally in, out quick, blah, blah, blah. I don't have a lot of bad things to say in terms of my personal travel. The Orlando airport, I would say, efficiency would be on the low scale.
Yeah. Well, a lot of kids, too. So,
Well, that's it. If you go in March, you're getting just packs of like high school groups that are down there, and the place is just a mess.
Yeah, it is. You're right. You fly out of Atlantic City a lot. I think that helps because Atlantic City is such a small airport. I think they know they have to get shit out on time, or at
Well,
least
generally, there's only one flight going on. I mean, like, I'm going to Tampa tomorrow. There's only one flight. That's it. I mean, there might be another flight for Fort Myers, but I don't. It's very. Atlantic City would be high on the efficient scale. Orlando, low.
I agree. I love that airport.
Yeah. AC is a nice airport to go.
It's very, very quick and efficient. I wish they would get another carrier or two. Nothing against the carrier that's there, just more options. They only fly like the 6 places in the off season. So
yeah.
All right, Mike. Johnny Mac has dubbed this the Temu off season for the Eagles, meaning that they're shopping at the clearance rack all day, every day here. What do you think? Week 1 is in the books. Milton gone, Josh gone, Mekhi Becton is now gone. All the names, Mike, that we talked about. Will they be back? Everybody except Baun. Now, I will say about Baun, he was the only all-pro free agent out there. So the Eagles got him done early, but they did get the best free agent available in Zack Baun in terms of all pros. But your thoughts, man, this is a whole new team. The 2024 Super Bowl team is gone, Mike.
Well, and I think you guys were hinting on it before I got here. We talked a little bit week, and I've talked about it on my show as well, which is every guy that walked out the door, they essentially think they have somebody in-house that can replace them. They also did a little discount rack shopping to bring in some competition. We're not just going to hand you the job, Kaylee Ringo. We're going to bring in a guy, Adoree Jackson, who's been a starter, a former first-round pick, and we think has a little left in the tank. Same thing at the offensive line. Tyler Steen, we're not going to hand you the job. We trade it for a guy who was a first-round pick, much like the guy who beat you out last year. On the edge rushing side, Josh Uche is not a guy who, jumps off the page. He had one very, very productive season. He was a high draft pick. The Eagles are saying, we're not going to hand you a job, Jalen Hunt. You got to beat this guy out. Everywhere pretty much, and I think, John, I caught the tail end of what you were saying, except for defensive tackle, did they go out and bring in a veteran player and they basically, as we've talked about, they're not going to give you a 2-year deal to be a backup. Come in, 1-year deal, show us, compete with the guy that we drafted, and have that guy that we drafted hopefully wins the job. The guy who got the 1-year deal hopefully is the backup player, and that we think will help us. And then they have 20-plus draft choices coming next this draft and the 2026 draft, and they think if they can kind of use the core of their offense coupled with the fill-in pieces and then these draft pieces, that they should be right back where they were. And look, if they win a Super Bowl this year, great. If not, we think we can be right back there to compete in 2027.
Yeah, I mean, and I would add safety to that defensive tackle because they haven't added somebody behind Sidney Brown. And for a lot of reasons, now they have Tristan McCullum-Lewis seen, but you'd want more of a veteran presence, I would think, especially for Sidney because he's coming off the injury. It didn't go well last year. Hopefully he's 100% coming in, but that's another position to keep an eye on. I don't think fans like what you just said, Mike. Do you think the Eagles are purposefully stepping back and saying we're not going to win it this year, but we'll be back in the mix in 2026?
Well, I don't know that that's their what their messaging is, but you can't sit here and say their defense today is better than it was when they left the field. There's just no way. But what I think they also believe is, I think we might have touched about this last week, they paid their offense. Their offense is where all the money is hoarding right now. So they need to win the game. They might have to win it. They won a Super Bowl by outscoring a team. The defense wasn't great when they beat New England. Now, last year, they scored 44 points. One was an interception return for a touchdown. They only gave up a handful of points. So their offense and defense were equally as good in the Super Bowl. They might say, hey, to win another Super Bowl offense, we're paying you the money. You might have to win the game 38-31 this time around. So I think they're acknowledging that they're taking a step back on defense, but can afford to because they put so much money into their offense.
Well, I would say, and I think the final score fools people. I think the defense was much better than the offense in the Super Bowl. They gave up
No
6
doubt.
stinking points and still until garbage time. They didn't allow Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid to not pass midfield for 9 consecutive drives.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play a better game on defense than the Philadelphia Eagles played in the Super Bowl. Now, you're right.
They were down. And by the way, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people actually list the final score, of like 44-6 because the 2 scores they got late in that game were kind of meaningless.
Yeah. But I think you're right from the perspective that the Eagles clearly value their offensive players more than their defensive players. Now, that will begin to change. It did change with Zack Baun. It will change with Jalen Carter. It will probably change with Nolan Smith. And down the road, it will change with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. But boy, sometimes I think Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman are too hyper-focused on the offense, and I've said this numerous times, Mike. They feel that Vic will figure it out on defense. Is that fair?
Yeah, no,
figure it out.
Well, listen, I don't think it's a secret that the league values offense more. It's an offensive-based league, and if you have a good defense, you're just the gravy. It's like the Eagles. Most teams, they go out and draft skill players. They have a good offensive line. So they have something that nobody else has, an offensive line, a complete offensive line. Now the right guard spot will be up for grabs, but they were in the same spot last year in training camp. The right guard spot was Tyler Steens, and Mekhi Becton was brought in after this point of the offseason, by the way. It was after the draft.
Oh, yeah.
That they brought Becton in, and he ended up winning the job, and now he made himself $20 million. So they still have things that they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if we still saw a trade of some magnitude to bring somebody in here with all the draft picks they have. That's not a shocking statement, I'm sure. But, you got 4 fifth-round picks or something to that effect. You got future picks that you got coming out the yin-yang here. So they can still target a veteran player if they like. And they've been a team that has done that in training camp. I mean, you might get to training camp and say, okay, I think we need a safety. And, they traded for Ronald Darby, right, 3 weeks before the season started a couple of years ago. And that team, the Darby team?
Darby team made the Super Bowl. He was a Super Bowl corner. Yeah.
Yes.
And obviously CJ came the first time at the initial cut down to 53. They made that trade. The first time CJ was in. So Howie has been
with all the picks they have in next year's draft coming. It's still an opportunity for them. So it's very slow right now. There's nothing exciting, and you're losing guys. So I don't think anybody can say the team is better right now. And look, the teams around them have gotten better. There's no question about that. The Rams have upgraded. Washington keeps adding, whether you like what they've done or not. Detroit, look, they were the number 1 seed. They were the home field advantage. They were really banged up. I think we can all acknowledge that Detroit was not the same team at the end of the year. The battle of attrition, they lost, and they've gotten better. They're going to get healthier, and they've gotten better. So there's a bunch of teams
lost their coordinators, though. That's always difficult. That's always difficult.
That is true. They are probably a more talented team than the number 1 seed, but you're right. They lost their offensive coordinator and they lost their defensive coordinator. And Dan Campbell was already being questioned he was, it's funny. Nick Sirianni was the buffoon. Dan Campbell was great. And now Sirianni wins the Super Bowl, and Campbell, they're like, well, this guy can't coach without the other 2 guys around him.
Yeah.
It's funny how quickly that is all kind of flip-flopped here. But now we're going to see Dan Campbell, how he kind of perseveres without the 2 guys that had been around him for a while. But, that team on paper Chicago has gotten better. Minnesota, we'll see the quarterback situation there, but they have added some pieces around.
They've gotten way better, Minnesota, but it's hard to.
Yeah, they've done a great job in free agency. filling their holes because they were weak on the interior offensive line, defensive line. They got much, much better at both spots.
Yeah. Two areas, offensive line where they really struggle over the years.
Yeah. But we don't know anything about the damn quarterback, so it's hard to take them seriously.
We don't know who their quarterback. I mean,
yeah.
Are they going to stick with JJ McCarthy? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that's
boy. I don't know how you go into a season with JJ McCarthy, who didn't make it through one preseason game before he got injured with that roster. I don't know how you can do it.
Yeah, that division's going to be fun, man. Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago. Those three teams are, and Chicago. It's a very big wild card because of, you got the new coach there. So a lot of times, you just assume, okay, the new coach, you got an offensive-minded coach with the former number one pick. That should just make them. But they refurbished that whole offensive line, and their defense was already
they did it
good.
Too.
Yeah,
yeah.
Packers finally. I mean, the Packers are going to be solid.
Yeah,
that's a four-man race, man. In that
teams
division.
are finally figuring out you got to build an offensive line. That is starting to. Chicago did it. Minnesota did it in that division. Who knows if it works, but if those teams in the case of Minnesota with that roster, in the case of Chicago with that talented young quarterback, if they have good offensive lines, that could shift the landscape a little bit.
Tampa Bay is another team that has done some stuff.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is and Baker Mayfield might be the most underrated quarterback in the NFL as far as I'm concerned.
I like Baker too.
But I want to talk Dallas Goedert with you, Mike. A lot of people, the Eagles signed Harrison Bryant on Friday, and then they signed Kylan Granson on Saturday, 24 hours apart. 2 tight ends, and I saw a lot of people jump to the conclusion, well, that's it for Dallas Goedert. Now, it might be it for Dallas Goedert because he might be in the category where they just can't afford to pay him from their perspective, and they're worried about down the road. But that can't be the replacement for Dallas Goedert. That can it?
I on the surface, I would say I agree. I also look at it and say, and I had Josina Anderson on my show last week, and she said they're looking for a fourth, and kind of laughed at I don't think they think they're actually going to get a fourth. So are they willing
to trade 2028 fourth?
Right, exactly.
Now he won't mind.
Unless it's down the road, yes. So are they willing to just get rid of Dallas Goedert for basically a song? I mean, hey, to give us a 6th-round pick in 2027, and you could have Dallas Goedert. I mean, that is, basically just a total financial decision. And then by thinking, well, we got 2 guys in here that we think can fill the need based on the fact that they have won games without Dallas Goedert. I mean, he misses 4 to 5 games, it feels like, every year. This year, they didn't skip a beat without him, right? I mean, they didn't lose a game when he went out this year. And I don't know that they lost a game the couple times that, it's not like
they didn't lose a game when he came back, and it was really good, though. He's really good.
I get that, yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, how much of a financial burden is he that they feel that they have to, okay, so the decisions are, would he play on this deal? Or is he going to say, no, I'm not going to play? They're do they hold the cards in that aspect? Or do they just not want to pay him even what he's getting paid this year?
Yeah, I mean, the cash outlay would be, I don't know, about $11.8 million.
That's what it comes down. Yes. That's what it comes down. I think it's 11.8. That's what it comes down to, though, really, is he not going to play on this deal? Or the Eagles say, look, we don't want to pay you this money?
Solomon Wilcots said something interesting I liked, and I'm going to steal, but I'm not stealing because I'm citing. And Solomon used to be a corner in the NFL, longtime corner of Cincinnati. A couple other teams, but he said, especially in the modern game, you want volunteers, not hostages. You want guys, in other words, you want guys that want to play for you. You don't want to sit, because I think a lot of fans say, well, Dallas Goedert is under contract, just pay. just play under the last year of your contract with no guaranteed money left, and they want to play this hardball. It just doesn't work that way, Mike, especially in this era. And I thought Solomon described it perfectly as a former player. You want volunteers, you don't want hostages. And if they don't do anything with Dallas Goedert's contract and they say, just play it out, you got a hostage. And I don't think that works that well, ever.
Yeah, and listen, it comes down to, is Howie holding out to get a trade? And this is where these things get interesting. It comes down to me, it's like all these teams now know you want to trade them. They're not going to give you what you want unless somebody really, really wants Dallas Goedert, unless they feel like they can be the team. Why are we going to give you something? You're just going to release them. Like you have that whole game. If we release him, then he's open to everybody to sign. And then it's like, well, guess what? We think we can get him more so than this team. This is an interesting, stare down here, because do the Eagles feel like they have to move on from Dallas Goedert? Like, that is the interesting part. Like, why are they looking at this and saying, we think we have to move on from him now?
Well, I think from their standpoint, it is the cash, and they'd like to work out a short-term extension. And Dallas is probably looking at it like he's 30, and this is his last chance to get a meaningful extension with significant guarantees. The issue comes pre-June 1st, post-June 1st as well, because pre-June 1st, they lose about $9.5 million of cap space. Post-June 1st, they gain $4 million plus. But post-June 1st, everybody's budgeted. Can you bring on a big money addition? Everybody's planned at the position. I mean, Denver was a team everybody said was hyper-focused on getting Dallas Goedert, and they went on and signed Eric Ingram. That's what happens. You gotta pivot. You can't wait if you're other teams. There's a lot of complications with this one, Mike.
Well, you wonder if they called and then got the feeling they're not going to let him go.
Yeah, I mean, that's their feeling. Their feeling was they had to turn the page and go in a different direction. Right. So that makes it more difficult. Short-term play this year, give them a little bit more money next year, revisit it, kick the can down the road. That's what the Eagles should do. I don't know if they want to do that. They've been so disciplined this offseason.
I feel like they would do that, John. I just don't think Dallas would, based on what you've been saying, right? He wants to cash in. If he puts it one more year down the road, he's probably going to limit his earning potential in the future.
Well, I'll tell you. And Mike's right. They won games because they were so good when Dallas got hurt last year. But I'm not excited about a tight end room.
Bring in a tight end room with Grant Calcaterra and then the two guys you just
signed. And remember, the draft is coming, and it's a deep tight end draft, and maybe that's their plan. They're going to get a meaningful piece at tight end in the draft. So we have to factor in the draft.
And I don't know, I haven't seen the contracts like fully, but I'm assuming the two guys they have are easily
minimum.
Right, are easily cuttable. So you bring them in. Probably two guys that they liked that had some talent, that maybe Harrison Bryant's a guy that, in that draft class, they might have had an eye on him. Yeah. Couldn't get him. Wanted to take a look at him themselves. The kid from the Colts, same situation.
Got insight there because of Shane Steichen. So they probably have a good
so and listen, those two guys could be battling with each other. You could have a situation where one makes it, the other one doesn't. You guys are battling each other. We like Calcaterra. You're the other guy. Jack Stoll has been in and out. I know he went down to New Orleans with Kellen Moore, but you've had a guy like him in and out of here 15 times. Just try to find a guy that we feel comfortable with that can maybe add more than Stoll did.
At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike. I'm sure you got to go to work now, Mike. The sports.
I'm also running. My battery is laughing at me. It's about to die.
All right. At Mike Gill Show on YouTube.
I'm having a rough morning today. I'm here drinking my coffee, just watching stuff, and I got your text, and I was like, I'm not used to the Monday routine and getting ready until my meeting is at 10 o'clock here.
Any St. Patty's Day stuff going on the station today? A little day drunk for the people.
I'll read the text, and I'm sure I'll think they've had a little St. Patty's libations.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Mike, appreciate you joining in, man, being flexible with us this week on a Monday. We appreciate it. As always, travel safe, man. You're heading down to Clearwater, right, for the Philly spring training. So travel safe down there. Enjoy it. Enjoy that nice, warm Florida weather. And we'll catch you when you get back, Mike. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, everybody. See you.
Thanks, bud.
There's Mike Gill joining in on Birds 365. Well done by Mike Gill. Good to get him in here. Appreciate him checking in on a Monday. As John mentioned, we'll get Jeff Kerr tomorrow. I know everybody likes to listen to Jeff Kerr on Mondays.
Get a little Jeff Kerr overreaction to the Temu offseason. I'm interested to hear that.
We'll get a Jeff Kerr overreaction for sure. John, am I too far out on Grant Calcaterra? Am I unfairly labeling Grant Calcaterra? Like when I think about replacing the guys that have left, I feel okay about a Jomo. We haven't seen much yet, but he did give you 400 snaps last year. He showed some flashes. I'm like, all right, he could be a guy maybe in the future. I feel all right about Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith. Maybe not perfect. Can you get better? Absolutely. But I feel all right about that. Tyler Steen, I don't know. I trust Jeff Stoutland. He's done it so many times. I feel okay there. I look at tight end. I'm like, Grant Calcaterra? That's who your starting tight end's gonna be, life after Goddard. That's not doing it for me, John. Am I too far out on Grant Calcaterra?
I don't blame you for saying that's not doing it for me, but I do think you're a little bit too high on the other guys then, because I think you got a larger sample size with Grant Calcaterra than some of the names you mentioned. I do think people would be surprised by how good he is as a receiver if he was forced to play a lot. My concerns are obviously the blocking aspect of the game, which is big for a team that runs the football as much for the Eagles, and you would have to piecemeal it. And that's why.
And Goddard does that well, by the way. I mean,
and he does both, but that's rare. You're probably not going to find a two-way tight end.
Again, another reason to bring Goddard back, in my opinion. But again,
So you would have to piecemeal it with Calcaterra, and then probably, as Mike pointed out, the winner of Kylan Granson, Harrison Bryant competition. My early indications would be the Eagles like Granson a little bit more from just talking with some people. They had a lot of interest in him. And they know him well. Shane Steichen, Nick are still very good friends.
I did watch some Kylan Granson highlights, if that's believable.
You got me beat.
I did. He does have good hands, but like hasn't been super productive in his career, so we'll see what he can do. But
well, either of them have been, but they're more the blocking. Although they're both undersized. They're when I say they're better than Grant Calcaterra as a blocker, but they're not good blockers. Like if you're getting Michael Mayer, and I still think if the Eagles went into training camp, even forget about the season, but we'll go to the season. If they go into the season and their three tight ends are Grant Calcaterra, Harrison Bryant, and Kylan Granson, I'd be stunned. So, I mean, there's more to add probably in the draft.
The best place to project it would be the draft, right?
Yeah. If you do lose Dallas Goedert, they're going to add something else. They're not going to go with those three guys. I feel very comfortable saying that.
That wouldn't be good at all, Johnny Mac. John, looking at the, even you get there, you got the defensive signings. I said last week, and I'll continue to say this, if the Eagles want to compete in 2025, which I think they're going to, by the way, the whole core is intact.
Oh, they're going to compete.
They're going to compete. I'm talking
they
about
got the best offensive line in football.
Yeah,
they're going to compete.
Get to the mountaintop, though. If they want to get to the mountaintop in 2025, I think it's got to come down to that offense and Jalen Hurts. And I'm not saying they weren't good last year, but they had such a good defense, such a good running game, such other things that worked so well that it was perfect complementary football. If that defense goes from 1 to 8, okay, who's making up for that? In my estimation, it's got to be Jalen Hurts.
It's funny because last year my projection was if the Eagles get from whatever they ended up, 30th in passing deep, I know, to middle of the road, 14, 15, they'd be fine. And they ended up being number 1. Now I'm the same. As long as they can stay 14-15, they should be fine. I'm in the same boat, just from the opposite ends of the spectrum.
I think they can be top 10 still. I don't think they can. I mean, look, you got Jalen Carter. You got
Depends
Cooper
on the pass
Freeman.
rush, and it's such uncertainty on the pass rush. Certainly not from the interior. You know, Jalen Carter's going to be really good. But then you start talking about Moro Jomo stepping in for Milton Williams. Yeah, I think you're way too confident about that. I think you're way either overblowing Moro or underrating Milton.
Okay.
And then the edge.
I do like Moro maybe a little bit more than I should.
And then the edge. Nolan did it for half a season. Jalix did it for a couple games, and they played very well and they flashed. But boy, that is unproven. That is unproven from a larger perspective. When you start talking about, think about the great pass rushers in this league, guys who do it week in and week out, the Garretts, the Boses, the Crosbys, all those guys, even the Hendricksons. I mean, even losing a player like Josh Sweat, who's not at their level, but boy, he was there every week, just solid. Lot of uncertainty on what was the strength of the deal. For all the talk about the corners and the young, and they were phenomenal. I think you saw in the Super Bowl. And it dates back to Jim Schwartz, really. The strength of the Eagles is up front on both sides of the ball, not just offense, defense. And they're losing 3 of their top 8 players on that defensive front. They already lost Milton, Josh, Brandon's not coming back. It's a lot to replace.
It is a lot to replace. There's no doubt about it. John, let me ask you this question. I had this conversation on Friday with Big Sills in the National Football Show. Who's going to be better in 2025? Josh Sweat or Nolan Smith?
I mean, if you're a betting man, I would go Josh, but I know you're going to be optimistic. I mean, Josh has done it for a long time at a very consistent level. Nolan has showed a lot of promise in the second half of the season. And sometimes guys just need a chance. Like, remember, if the injuries didn't strike, we still don't know about Nolan Smith.
That's true. It's very true.
We still don't know. And then he tore his triceps in the Super Bowl. So that's part of it as well. He's undersized. You know, we already saw with Brandon, who's not, well, he's short, but he's not undersized. Now, he tried to come back way too soon from that injury. That won't be an issue with Nolan. But still, when you're a 235-pound guy and you're pushing and pulling and trying to deal with these 320-pound monsters on a play-to-play basis. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say, that's why when I talk about the extensions, Jalen Carter, done. The Eagles are paying him. Cam Jurgens, done. The Eagles are paying him. I don't think they're, from their perspective, they're 1,000% sold on we're going to give Nolan Smith gigantic money.
Right.
I think there's a lot of positives. There's a lot of optimism. I have no problem with that. But Josh Sweat's been doing it for a long time. And he's still young. And if I'm a betting man in that question, yeah, I'm going Josh Sweat.
I'm gonna go Nolan, John. I think part of it is the team around him. I do. I think Nolan's in a better position.
Well, that helps. He's certainly in a better position.
I mean, let's be real.
That Arizona defense is not terrible.
They're not terrible, but I don't know. I was never the biggest Josh Sweat guy. I like him. I think he was a good contributor, but I just don't feel like that loss was as big as some people made it out to be. I think it's big because you need edge rushers and you got to get after the quarterback, and he was an every down edge rusher, but I feel like I don't think he's irreplaceable.
Again, I don't think anybody's irreplaceable.
I don't know. Jalen Carter's pretty freaking irreplaceable.
I don't think anybody's irreplaceable. Anybody. I don't think anybody's irreplaceable. I think you've seen that over the years, maybe with the exception of Tom Brady or somebody like that. But at the game's most important position. But as far as positional players, look, because you can win a whole bunch of different ways. So you're not going to replace Jalen Carter. But if Jalen Carter gets hurt, God forbid, your season's not over. You just got to go about things a different way. I don't think anybody's irreplaceable in the entire NFL. Obviously, there's really, really good players that make things far more difficult. But I think, yeah, I don't agree with that mentality. And Josh Sweat, is he of course he's replaceable. He's already replaced. By definition, everybody's replaceable.
I mean, everyone's obviously replaceable from that perspective. I'm talking about replacing the production, though.
Well, I mean, they won the Super Bowl. And here's again, when I get to the quarterback versus every other position conversation on winning Super Bowls.
Right.
They won the Super Bowl, and he was arguably the most dominant player on the field on the biggest stage of them all. He's the best edge rusher on a Super Bowl winning team. Period. He was. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I wouldn't say I don't care. I think there's more context there than just that game. You always say all the time, you can't take one game out, even if it is the Super Bowl. There's more context
for a quarterback, but that's what I'm saying. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's why I didn't phrase it like that. He was the best edge rusher on a Super Bowl winning team.
Yes,
not one game, the entire season.
Okay, that's fair.
That's why I phrased it like that. Yeah, you're exactly right. Anybody could spike. Tim Smith spiked for old school football fans. I bring him up all the time. One game doesn't mean jack shit. He was the best edge rusher on a Super Bowl winning defense that finished number 1 in the NFL in defense. And it's the strength of the defense. Is he a great player? No. Is he a very good player? Yes. It's amazing to me. The human mind is amazing to me. Josh Sweat.
Well,
it's the best Philadelphia had. That's something, because that's the best team in football.
What's a common cliche? The cliche that, what have you done for me lately? And Josh Sweat has done a lot for us lately. All right, 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl. But leading up to that point, it was his first sack in 6 games. Meanwhile, Nolan Smith was on the other, and again, I know there's context. Nolan Smith on the other side had 4.5 sacks in the playoffs and had sacks in every game leading up to it. So I look at that and say, well, you got serious production out of Nolan Smith late in the year. Just like I'm not going to use that though. Oh, there's other context. I understand that, but my whole point was I don't feel as big about the Josh Sweat loss as some others do. I know you need to replace him, but I'm not tripping on it. I think Nolan Smith is going to be great. I think Nolan Smith has a chance to be better.
I'm not tripping on it, but how much, you talk about Milton Williams and his, help. He's helped by Jalen Carter, which is unquestionably true. If you look at the Eagles' 4-man front, Nolan's number 4 from an offensive perspective. Like, they're worried about Jalen Carter. They're worried about Josh Sweat. They're worried about Milton Williams.
And then Nolan
Smith. There's your context.
Right.
So, I've said it a million times. I'll probably say it a million more if we continue to do this show. I don't give a fuck about sacks. I don't. Now,
how about the pass rush as a whole? Because I feel like all year we talked about look, the Eagles had a great defense. The pass rush wasn't the greatest pass rush in football.
It was damn good. It was damn good from an effectiveness standpoint, from an efficacy standpoint, when you look at the advanced numbers and pressure percentage and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I don't care about sack numbers. And I used to have this problem with Jody, and his mind would shut off. And I'm like, I'm not saying they're a bad thing. They're never a bad thing. I'm just saying
the only way to view pass rushing.
Yeah,
I certainly agree with that.
There's so many things that go into it, and so many reasons why you have to look at each individual Nolan Smith sack as Chris Long would say, maybe Jalen Carter pushed the pocket and they ran right into him. There's so many different ways to get sacks. Now, the great ones, some of those names I mentioned, the Myles Garrett's of the world, the Nick Bosa's, the Max Crosby's, the Trey Henry, they're so consistent from year to year. There's something about those guys. It is a bait to trait to finish. Like Brandon Graham, the one probably knock, he was not a great finisher as a pass rusher. Some guys are great finishers. And sacks are never a bad thing. But the Eagles' pass rush last year was one of the best in the NFL. But they didn't have the 70 sacks like they had in 2022.
How much do you think they were aided by the secondary, the coverage? Or, I know both of them are complementary, but
they're both complementary. But if you're asking which is better, the front is better than the secondary.
I think the front helped the secondary more than the secondary helped the front.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good last year. The funny part about it, every time I think,
but they were both good.
They were both great. I'm not saying either one wasn't good. I do think they were both great, but last year was like the perfect combination of complementary football, offensively, defensively, the whole team.
Yeah, Vic helps too because Vic is, just tremendous when it comes to teaching what he wants done on the back end. I think that's the secret to his success. People are worried about it's not the scheme. He teaches what he wants on a particular play. And then, also the way he teaches defense, it limits your pass rush because he's far more focused on discipline. He doesn't want guys freelancing. So you're not going to have Jason Babin just pinning his ear back, running to get the quarterback. He wants a very disciplined pass rush to make the quarterback do what he wants to do. And most quarterbacks, and if you look at the Super Bowl, his whole point was take away the first read, take away the first read, take away the first read. And his belief with the defensive front, if you did that, if the secondary could do that, the defensive front would get home. Well, it worked to perfection. They got home, and the secondary took away that first read, and Patrick Mahomes was lost.
Completely lost. Outside of that, first play where he looked to the right and kind of whipped one back across the middle, he was in hell, Patrick Mahomes, in that Super Bowl. No doubt about it. John, I want to ask about a player. I got a great message this weekend, all right, from one of our great listeners, and they revived one of our conversations that we had a week or two ago about Bryce Huff. And now we talked about him last week because somebody, I think it was Schultz, put out that the Eagles are interested and open to trading him. What are you going to get? A ham sandwich back, a toasted piece of bread? I don't know. You're not going to get back much for him with the contract. But
Texas toast.
Well, Texas, there you go. Texas toast works. I got a message though, and it's somebody I talk to him all the time. Right? He's one of our great listeners here, but he sent me a nice long message about how he's been thinking about our conversation with Bryce Huff, and he thinks you might be right that he's going to have a better year. Now, many Eagle fans, John, are out on Bryce Huff. They have a hard time looking at the player and thinking he will be much of anything. I understand that. Talk to me about Bryce Huff. What do you think he's going to be this year? Is he going to be a competent piece? The person who messaged me, Akbar Divine, there's many of you know Akbar. He's great, though. He messaged me. He's like, I got a weird feeling Johnny Mac's going to be right, and Bryce Huff is going to be a lot better this year than he was.
By the way, how could he not be better?
Yeah, right. Playing
if he's out there, he's healthy. So just from the standpoint, if you think he's the worst player in the world, if he's healthy, he's going to be better. I think a lot of people, you can't fake surgery. I think there's a lot of people out there saying he's not really hurt. He was hurt. He's got a big breaking cast on his arm. He had surgery. He was hurt. So from that standpoint, if Bryce Huff does return, which I think he will,
Yeah.
And if he is a part of this pass rush and he has a better year, I'm not spiking the football because he's going to have a better year. It's not even a debate. Because if he plays, he's going to be healthy. So he's going to be better. But he's got to be – the problem is, where if you look at it pre-injury, that's what he's got to be better than. Like, I think you wipe out everything post-injury. So that's the Jacksonville game. He got hurt in pregame warm-ups in the Jacksonville game. It's another thing because it happened in pregame warm-ups. I think people believe it didn't happen. It did happen. I can confirm that with 100% certainty. He had surgery. And he was hurt. But so I think forget about anything post Jacksonville and look at pre-Jacksonville. That's what it's got to get better. And I think the Eagles did Bryce Huff a little bit of a disservice as well and even Vic, and I rarely criticize Vic for people that watch the show, but I'll criticize Vic. Who cares? He's not a flat defender. I don't want to, turn him into Andrew Van Ginkel. That's your fault if you're trying to turn him into that. All this Andrew Van Ginkel talk. That's how he signed Zack Baun to be Andrew Van Ginkel, for those who don't know. And Van Ginkel's a tremendous player. I think he was a second-team All-Pro. Was tremendous in Miami. Phenomenal player. Just one of the few players in this league. 2 or 3 pick six last year. Best flat defender in football. And by that, I mean he's the hybrid off-ball linebacker edge rusher that Vic likes using when he has it. He can cover. He can rush. He can play the run. Very rare player. And they're trying to turn Bryce Huff into that. I mean, that's the Eagles' fault. People would lose their mind when Hassan Reddick would drop into coverage when Jonathan Gannon was here. And Jonathan dropped Hassan Reddick into coverage less than he ever had in his career prior, and people would still lose their mind.
Yeah.
You got to do it occasionally as a curveball. I have no problem with that. It's the old Don Capers zone blitz where you're just trying to fool the quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And
you
got
to give some different looks.
Yeah. And you're not trying to, and then people will focus in as they tend to do and say, how could you have Bryce Huff covering so-and-so? Well, he's not. He's playing the zone. You're just trying to fool the quarterback who's expecting him to rush and maybe doesn't see the drop. And who knows? It's happened many times. You see interceptions that way because they just don't see the defender. But it seemed to be like they were hyper-focused on turning Bryce Huff into a 3-down player like Andrew Van Ginkel. And I'm going to blame the Eagles for that. Like, that's a bad plan.
Yeah, right.
And I think at some stage, you heard Vic throughout training camp saying, well, I don't know if he could do this. I know he can't do this. So, all right, let him do what he does well.
You think those mistakes are avoidable now that you have Vic in the building? Like Vic was new last year, so maybe he wasn't as ingrained, or he had to prove it to the front office, which makes sense to me. Do you think those problems are more avoidable by conversation with the DC about what type of player he wants?
Hopefully,
because, I don't think it's Bryce's fault, like you said. I mean, he's just not that type of dude. He's not built for that type of defense.
Yeah, you hope so. I mean, part of it, how he talked about being stubborn and he thinks the book is yet to be written on Bryce Huff. He signed him to that deal, so obviously he wants him to succeed. But part of that is just keeping up the trade value. Again, if you do it before June 1st, you're losing a bunch of cap space. So you almost have to wait to post June 1st. And who wants to pick up that contract post June 1st? I still think the odds are he's going to be here. They need an edge rusher. You can make a strong argument that he's the most proven edge rusher they have on the roster over a long period of time. which speaks to when I see that reaction, but he is, because the other guys have done it for 8 games and 3 games.
You're not wrong. It's an unarguable point. I just have a hard time believing it mentally, but you're not wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, you need an edge rusher. If he's here, you might as well try it. And I don't care if he's the best run defender, because Hassan Reddick wasn't the best run defender, trust me. And I'm not comparing him to Hassan in that 2022 season. But it's funny, if you let guys do what they do well, they tend to be better. And he was hurt, getting back to the original point. So, of course, he's going to be better. He's going to be better no matter where. If he's here, if he's somewhere else, if he's healthy, he's going to be better.
People bring up a good point. They say, by that logic, it's Uche. Uche. Don't tell me Uche is our most, him and Bryce Huff are our two most,
well, I was speaking to the guys. I was speaking to the guys coming back that were here.
Yeah, I got you.
That's proven. Josh is very similar to Bryce Huff, but I
think that fits with Vic a little better.
Well, I think, he had 11.5 sacks, playing about 38% of the snaps, so very similar to Bryce, but Bryce did it for 2 years. Technically, Josh only did it for 1 year. Now, pressure percentage, not number of sacks. Bryce Huff led the NFL in pressure percentage for 2 consecutive years with the New York Jets. Maybe let him go rush the passer. I don't know. That's what I do.
No, not wrong there. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. John, in breaking news here, it's coming down. Not Eagle related, but NFL related. Texans cornerback Derek Stingley agreed to a 3-year, $90 million extension. That'll make him the highest paid cornerback.
Quinyon's coming.
Quinyon and Cooper are sitting back. They got their feet up on the desk, baby. They are loving this NFL offseason. Boy, the corner market is going crazy. The whole NFL market is going crazy. Derek Stingley, 3 years, $90 million extension will make him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. We'll see what the guaranteed money is on that, but good Lord, Johnny Mac, these NFL contracts are getting insane, dude. Insane.
Well, I mean, the salary cap people compare it to last year. The salary cap went up. So it's going to keep going up and up and up, because the salary cap is going to keep going up and up and up. And that's why the Eagles kind of know where it's going. And that's why they're doing what they're doing.
How far are we from a $100 million player? It feels like I thought it would be 10 years. Now it feels like it's 3 years.
100 million. We're already over 100.
No, million. I'm talking 100 million average annual value from a quarterback.
Probably
3 to 5 years.
We're over 50, so still got a ways, but it's going to be. Let's get to 75. 75 is probably in the realm of 4 or 5 years. I'll tell you that.
I think it could be quicker than that, man. It feels like years ago. It feels like decades ago when we signed Carson Wentz. It wasn't really that long. And he was the highest paid quarterback, and he was making what, 30 million, 32 million on that deal he got?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's just the way. It's amazing. I don't know.
It's crazy, man.
People forget about fans. I mean, NFL teams don't figure it out. It's amazing. It's like, do it early. Get a little bit of a break. You're still paying a lot of money. But boy, I never can. The only way waiting helps you is if a player has a catastrophic injury, which you don't want to happen.
Yeah, right. Which is not a good,
because then you don't have to pay him, and you go, "Oh, I saved some money." You know what? Can anybody give me one example of a big-time player who stayed a big-time player? Not misevaluation, because that's part of it. Yeah, guys, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But guys who are star players and remain star players, there is no example of where waiting saves you money. And so many teams just don't follow the Eagles' mentality because they're worried about either a valuation or an owner or getting fired or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
John, I'm going to move into what they have coming up this week. That was some big breaking news there on the cornerback market, which is crazy. Derek Stingley's making $30 million a year. Corners are now making $30 million a year. Nuts where we're going. But John,
J.C. Horn ended, 5 days as the highest paid corner?
Yeah, whatever it was. He got it what? Did he get it Wednesday right at the start?
Yeah.
So, I guess 5 days, 6 days for J.C. Horn. Nice, brother. You held the title for 6 days. Now it's Derek Stingley's, and he'll probably hold it for let's see how long. But John, moving into this week that the Eagles have upcoming, I want you to tell me if this is stupid as shit by me, and it might be. All right, it might be. I was looking at what the Eagles did. I was thinking about our shows last week, thinking about the acquisitions. I think we're up to 10 players added or 11 players added now for this team, somewhere around there. You got Adoree, Harrison Bryant, Josh Uche, all sorts of guys.
I think we're at 10, 8 free agents and 2 trade picks.
And 2 trades, right. So you got them. You got Kenyon Green. I kind of looked at this and was like, it's like another draft, but less risky. You got 1 year, all 1 year players. You took a bunch of lottery tickets. If 2 or 3 of them work out, you'll be happy with it. It's like another version of a draft for older players. I mean, they just went out and threw a bunch of threw a bunch of lottery tickets on the team, and I paid them all $1 million and change, whatever it was, the veteran minimum, and brought them in to see if they could be something. If half of them stink, which they probably will, they'll be cut and moved on from. And if half of them are good, maybe there'll be a piece on the team this year. I don't know. Is that a bad way to look at this?
Well, from the standpoint, look at what happened to Mekhi Becton. All right. He comes in as one of those guys last year, hits a home run, and then you lose him. So I don't think it's like a draft, because a draft, the beauty of the draft, you got a guy for 4 years, first round pick for 5 years if you want him. So that's the big difference. But like if Adoree Jackson comes in and Kaylee Ringo, because he's the one guy I think you can still play. or I think could be meaningful.
1 out of 10. All right, we're shooting 10% right now.
Avery Williams as a return specialist. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, Charlie Hewlett as a long snapper. I'm sure he's going to be better than Rick was last year. So I'm not, those guys. But those are positions that are. But if Adoree Jackson, if Kaylee Ringo doesn't seize the job, Adoree Jackson's forced to start, has a good year. He's gone. He's not coming back. You're not gonna feel comfortable paying him big money at that stage of his career. So, or even Josh Uche would be number 2, but I'm not nearly as confident. Same thing. If he has a 10-sack season, if he turns into New England 20, he's done. He's gone. He's gone. I'm not paying him. You paying that guy $15 million?
No, I'm not paying him either. I'm with you.
So,
Yeah, so it's a 1 year draft.
From
so
that
draft can't do draft, but yeah.
From that standpoint, there's no way you're keeping anybody who outperforms what they're brought in to do, which is to be competition or an insurance policy.
Yeah, good stuff. Mekhi Becton just tweeted out for those who are interested. And I didn't read it yet, but it looks like a nice long penned letter to Philadelphia. So I'll read that after I get off the show. But for those who are interested, go check it out. Mekhi Becton just put that out there. Johnny Mac, I'll tell you one guy that I like of the Temu signings. Somebody that we haven't mentioned in terms of liking them. I like the bring back of Patrick Johnson. What do you think of that one? I think it's a good one just because I thought he could have made the team last year. I mean, if you remember when we were in a little bit of edge hell, when Bryce wasn't panning out and he got injured, we didn't know about Nolan Smith. BG got injured. We were like, boy, we wish we had Patrick Johnson still on the roster. You could probably elevate him and see what he could do. But I like the Patrick Johnson signing for that reason. Am I too high on Patrick Johnson? What do you think of that one?
I mean, it depends. I don't think he's relevant as an edge rusher. But as a special teams player, which nobody cares about, I think he can help, and I think he has helped. But if you're down to Patrick Johnson as an edge rusher, if he makes the team, he's the 5th edge rusher. And if you're down to that level, you're probably in deep trouble, I would say. So if you're just worried about helping out Michael Clay, which I don't think is a bad thing, and I think people should pay more attention to special teams. I think can help, but I don't think he's going to help as an edge rusher at all.
No edge. All right. Yeah. I liked it, but maybe I'm a little bit too high on it. Maybe I thought he would be at least a decent person that they would bring in. But do you think they'll sign anybody now, or they're looking at the draft? They've done enough dart throwing.
Well, I think there's still a chance at defensive tackle, still a chance at safety to bring in a low cost free agent to create that floor insurance policy or competition. Because right now you have Morrow, and then your in-house guys are Thomas Booker, Byron Young, Gabe Hall. By the way, Byron Young's an interesting guy we should talk about. He's an Alabama guy, third round pick. I'm right, breaking my rule. Got hurt. They kind of stashed him though, had a hamstring, stashed him, claimed him on waivers. So put an asterisk next to his name because he's got some talent. They were developing behind the scenes. Maybe he could be in the conversation. But those are the in-house guys, and I think they need more of a veteran presence there that they've done it with AJ Dillon, Harrison Bryant, Conley Granson, Kenyon Green, all over the place. And then safety, you have Tristan McCullum and Lewis Seen. And that's where the Justin Simmons stuff comes in. But how much money is Justin Simmons willing to come in for?
Yeah, I don't know.
$4 million? All right. Yeah. I'll take a shot. I still think he's, he was on somebody's podcast. He loves Vic. He loves the scheme. Had tremendous success. He's not that player that he was when he was in Denver, but he's still competent. But the longer he's out there, the better. But I still think he'd be too expensive for how disciplined the Eagles are being. Yeah,
it certainly seems they're being really disciplined. We'll see what Mekhi Becton got too. I thought that's one that they were going to bring back, but they clearly didn't want to go to 2 years for Mekhi. So a lot of changes, everybody. A lot of changes in Eagle Land. What will the team have to do to return to the Super Bowl? Obviously, I think most of their core is still intact, but a lot of changes, man, John. A lot of turnover and a lot of work to be done still with a long way to go. I put out that grade and people were like, oh my God, it's March. I'm like, I know. I know it's fucking March, all right? I know. There's plenty of time to go. So
we got a show every day. What are we supposed to talk about?
I say that to people all the time. I'm like, you have the benefit, the luxury of sitting in macro land, okay? You can, and that's fine. But don't conflate that with us. We got to do a show every single day. So we got to analyze the micro and the macro. And I think, to be fair, I think we do one of the best jobs of any show out there at combining those two things. You analyze the micro, but you look at the macro picture and how it all builds together. So well done by you, John and Matt. Good stuff there. We'll get to a commercial break. When we come back, our final thoughts on this Monday edition of the show. We'll start to look at the draft prep. That's going to kick up now that free agency is officially in the rearview mirror, or at least the start of free agency is in the rearview mirror. So we'll start to do draft prep. We'll get Ian Cummings, Rick Saratella, some of those guys back on in the coming weeks here on Birds 365 and see how is this team going to build their roster to be back. Remember, we had the number one overall defense in the NFL last year. As it stands today, I do not think we would be the number one defense in the NFL with our losses. But we will see how they prevail, what they do to answer the question. Let's get to our commercial break. Before we do that, let me tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go check them out. You can see the promo code on your screen. It's YouTube150. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa or just betus.com and use that promo code YouTube150. Gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So go check them out. Use that promo code. Who you betting on? Spring training, baseball, football. Football's done. Hockey, basketball. We'll see what ends up happening with all the leagues. So go check them out today. We appreciate them for sponsoring the show today. We'll be right back on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here. Kicking off another week of the offseason here with us. We appreciate all of you guys for checking in. We had a huge week last week with the start of free agency. You guys have been crushing it in the like comments and the likes comments, the views, the shares, everything. So appreciate all you guys checking in. Don't forget to hit that like button here today. Johnny Mac, now mid-March, March 17th. I should have had a countdown on the draft. I don't know exactly how many days we are away from the draft. Probably 40-something, 40 maybe.
I think I just saw 40 was the exact, somewhere in the 40 range.
Yeah, I know it's somewhere in the 40 range. Late April is the NFL draft. So what's next, man? What's next for this football team? I think they're pretty draft-proofed. I know we talked about safety maybe and linebacker, but I feel like the team is pretty draft-proofed and ready to go into that draft with a bunch of picks. Mike mentioned maybe trading some picks for a player. I'll tell you what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to trade up in the second and third round to try and go and get a guy that they like, or one of those middle rounds. They're
going to move some of the picks, no doubt about it.
Sure. I don't think it'd be for a player, though, John. I think it'd be to get a guy they like in the draft more because they're going to need rookie contracts, man.
Yeah, they definitely want rookie contracts, but at some point, it always depends on the situation. If you like a player, I always talk about the Eagles have these little clusters, basically, and everybody's focused on the first round, but they have these little clusters every single time they take a pick when there's about 4 or 5 guys they're comfortable with taking with that slot. And if they're gone, they're going to look to trade down or trade up to get into the cluster, back into the cluster. So that's always going on. I do think they still have a few more things to draft proof the roster with those positions. So they might not be done with these 1-year signings, but you're not going to see a 2-year signing. I feel very comfortable saying that at this stage. If you're getting a more meaningful player, it is on the trade market. They've already made 2 trades. Howie is not shy to trade. He likes to trade. He enjoys trading. So if there's a young player out there that they like, that's always in the mix as well. But yeah, cost effective is the key. We just saw it with cornerback. The cornerback market got set twice in 5 days.
Man,
Twice in 5 days.
Big jumps on both of them too.
I get the average fan doesn't give a shit about what's coming up in 2 years, but the Eagles do. And the Eagles know what's coming up in 2 years. If everything goes to plan, if it's not coming up in 2 years, guess what? You're not going to be happy, because that means guys have taken a downturn in their careers to the point you don't feel they're worthy of being top of the market. The Eagles think they're going to have 2 top of the market corners, and top of the market today is 30 million. Top of the market in 2 years could be 40 million. Trent McDuffie's next, so he's going to be 32 probably. And then you keep going up and up.
You think the Chiefs will pay him?
I think they have to. They already got rid of.
I thought they were going to pay L'Jarius Sneed too. They got rid of him.
So they already made their decision. Again, it's not the moment. By letting L'Jarius Sneed go, they made their decision. They knew they were going to pay this player. It's not about the moment.
Right. We'll see what they end up doing there. It's going to be wild. I think that's where the cash comes in. John, we talked about the cash with CJ Gardner-Johnson and the cash savings, and now people are like, the Eagles are broke. I'm like, no, they're not broke, man. They just need hundreds of millions of dollars in cash to put in escrow for some of these contracts that are upcoming with Jalen Carter, Quinyon Cooper. I mean, it's going to be crazy the type of cash some of these guys are getting in the future. So they got to be proactive. They got to be disciplined, as we've talked about. And I don't necessarily knock them for being that. It's just how well will they prevail, I think, is the question.
Hey, man, you got too many good players. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the slight erosion of we're saying they pay the offense. They don't pay the defense. Well, they got to start paying the defense, but it's only going to be a small core group. Zack Baun kicked it off. Jalen Carter's next. Nolan Smith to be determined.
Right.
Quinyon Mitchell 2 years down the road. Cooper DeJean 2 years down the road. All of a sudden, that the Eagles know that. So why is Mekhi Becton?
Here's a hypothetical to end the show. While you say that, I'll go with Jody Mack hypothetical on you to end the show. If Zack Baun didn't do what he did last year, and Howie didn't have to pay $15 million, because remember, coming into the year, Howie never expected he was paying big money to a linebacker. Let's be real, Howie never had that on his bingo.
No.
How would this offseason have been different, do you think, if they didn't have to pay Zack Baun?
Milton would probably be back.
You think so, even at that number?
Yeah. Which I think of all the criticisms of the Eagles, that's the one I can at least entertain, because that has been their foundational philosophy for many, many years that has served them well. So I don't have anybody pointing that out, have a problem with anybody pointing that out. And how he said he was going to do it, it's going to look different. Right. What he meant by that was, we're not paying the defensive front guy, but we're going to pay the linebacker
and the
running back with the extension. And that's different for the Eagles. But these 2 players specifically were deserving I mean, they both had historic seasons. Saquon, NFL-wise, Zach certainly Eagles-wise had an historic season for an off-ball linebacker. So,
Yeah. 2 first-team All-Pros, as Daz puts in the chat.
Yeah, there are only 2 first-team All-Pros. So, I mean, yeah, it's different for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing their decision to do it, but I do think, I mean, anybody who thought Howie thought he would be stroking a contract for a
he's
linebacker.
admitted, he said it on record. Yeah. We've said this a million times. Zach has said it on. Nobody saw this coming. Vic didn't see it coming. Nobody saw this coming. Zach deserves boatloads of credit. But if he turned into the player the Eagles thought they were getting, a sort of hybrid player who was one of their best special teams player, he might be back on a 2-year deal for $5 million, and the Eagles probably would have Milton Williams back.
Blessing and a curse to have a first-team All-Pro linebacker, but all good there. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We'll see what the Eagles do. Maybe a move today. Will we talk on football 24/7? Possibly. We will see. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts on this Monday edition of Birds 365, kicking off another week here, brother.
Yeah. Happy St. Patty's Day, number one.
There you go.
Some Eagles are coming in today, some of the signings. So maybe we'll get to talk to them. Don't have anything official yet.
Probably all virtual, though, right?
Probably all virtual. Never know. If they have a bunch in, they might call us down, but probably virtual. So maybe we'll get some news out of that later. We're in phase 3, I would say now, of free agency. So you might even see a visit. Some teams, I saw somebody was visiting, Jeff Okuda. So you see some visits now.
You remember when he was getting drafted, boy, he was talked about.
It was a top 5 pick, I think. Yeah. Did not work out. So.
No, he didn't.
And I forget where he's visiting, but you see some visits now. And there's still some names out there, some big names. If you look at NFL's top 101 NFL data, see, here's the problem with these things. Guys are on there. Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs. Well, they're on there because they're old. They shouldn't be in the top 25. If you're looking at how NFL teams view this. I know everybody's focused on Azeez Ojulari. I wanted him, but they signed Josh Uche. What do you need them both for? I don't see that happening. Hey, if it's 1 year, though, $1.4 million, whatever, why not? Some of these guys.
Another dart, Howie, sitting back, just tossing darts.
Justin Simmons, still think he'll be too expensive, but who knows? Obviously, he's at the stage of his career where Dallas doesn't want to go to. He's at a one-year stage. That's what happens with older players in this league. It's an unforgiving industry.
Johnny Mac, good stuff, man. Great show today. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I have 0 Irish in me, all right? My mom's 100% Italian. Maybe my dad is like, I don't know, a quarter. I don't know if he has any in him. Maybe I have a little bit passed through, but I love all my Irish people. I love the passion of Irish people. It's my favorite part about the Irish, the passion. And some of my best buddies who are Irish are some of the best drinkers I've ever seen in my life. I don't know, these guys just drink. It's like water to them. I don't know. Where does it go? What happens? Does it ever affect you? I don't know. The Irish can drink. So for all the great people, for all of our great Irish listeners, I hope you guys have a great St. Patrick's Day. And for everybody listening, I hope you all have a great St. Patty's Day. Johnny Mac, I know you're Irish. I hope you enjoy your St. Patrick's Day.
That's great. That's great when we're known for our drinking abilities. So,
my best friend growing up, I was roommates with him in college, all my years in college. I went to high school with him. I've never seen somebody drink like this guy. He's he'll drink a 30 rack in a night like it's nothing. I'm like, I would be slumped on the ground. I ain't doing that, but you guys do have a knack.
Yeah, my drinking days are over. I can't day drink. I got too much work to do.
Too much work to do. You gotta. Well, I'll tell you something I'm doing tonight. I'm gonna watch Monday Night Raw tonight.
Well, you should. It's from.
I'm gonna. I've been watching because I have a hard time just picking up and watching because I don't know. So I've been watching some YouTube stuff of like, I watched like every John Cena moment with like the bloodline. Like I'm learning a little bit more about the storylines. And the one thing I will say about the WWE is the storylines. I totally get why people love it. Like they really do a good job at making a live movie almost, if you will. I mean, it's really impressive. So I'm going to watch.
Yeah, and they're, by the way, for the wrestling fans, they're in Europe right now, and those European crowds, they embarrass. Yeah, but you can watch it anytime on that. They don't premiere it on Netflix, I think, in the U.S. till 8, but I don't know.
All right,
they might do it live.
If it's 3:00, shit, I'm not.
Well, you can watch it anytime you want. That's
I'll watch it
Netflix.
Later,
But I believe they're in Brussels. They were in somewhere in Barcelona. They were in Spain for SmackDown. They're in Brussels. They're going to be in London. They're going to be, they're all over Europe right now. And those European fans, because they don't get to see it as much as we do here, they are just off the charts. They're embarrassing the American fans. So you gotta get back. Yeah, American fans, you gotta get more juice.
Yeah. We'll see. Sasha R checks in. You can't see me, Zander. I love it. All right. So
John Cena tonight, too. John Cena's going to be on the show.
Supers. We missed these. Let me read these real quick. Bald Eagle. My bad, Bald Eagle and Pumper. I missed your guys' supers. Bald Eagle says, people will have the logic that if Grant C is in, it's an obvious pass play, and we shouldn't do that. But if we have Huff dropping the coverage, it's dumb. Huh?
I don't
I'm not really sure what Bald Eagle's going for here.
First of all, I'm the one that tries to talk everybody off the ledge when the design of a zone blitz is not to have a defensive ends or an edge rusher cover, as people will say, why is Bryce Huff covering running back or tight end or even a receiver? Well, he's not. It's a zone drop. But anyway, as for Grant C, I assume he talks about the tendencies of pass play versus run play. The entire league plays like that. So welcome to the entire league. There are very few tight ends that do both well.
Yeah.
So everybody piecemeals it.
Another reason to keep Goddard, by the way. Pumper checked in, says the guy is too busy doing a Joel Embiid impersonation to rush the passer, fumbling and bumbling all over himself, getting blocked by a tight end.
Hey, I'm 1,000% in the Joel Embiid's got to go category, and I have been for years. But I mean, let's not pretend the guy's not a phenomenal player. At his, I don't know, 7-time All-Star. I think if Bryce Huff gets the fumbling and bumbling Joel Embiid status, that'll work.
Yeah, it's fair. Fair enough. Johnny Mac, great show, brother. Appreciate you doing it. I'm going to show the people, John. I got a big box. I'm going to let you go, but I got to show the people. I ordered a bunch of stuff to give away to the people, John. I got a box filled with Super Bowl merch here with Eagles hats with the Super Bowl logo. So
there we go.
I'm going to show off some stuff that we'll give away to all of our great listeners. They make the show grow every single day, and they tune in, so we're going to give back a little bit to them. But Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We appreciate you as always, and we'll talk to you maybe later on today, but if not, tomorrow morning on Birds 365. All right, brother?
All right. Thanks, everybody. Don't get too day drunk. And, those Super Bowl hats are coming for you. So
John, you can't fool me, man. Raw's coming on at 3 o'clock, and it's St. Patty's Day. You'll be slugging Guinnesses by 2 p.m.
No shot for me. No shot. All right, guys. See you.
All right, see you. Good stuff there from Johnny Mac. John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. Give him a follow at JF McMullen. Appreciate him doing it today on Birds 365. Great show, as always. Sorry here for the Bald Eagle, another super chat. My point is you have to disguise coverages as much as you need to not be predictable in offenses. I'm agreeing with you. Hostility. Yeah, Johnny Mac was a little hostile. It's all right. Bald Eagle, a lot of people comment, attacking. So, his defense mechanism comes up on super chats. All right. Oh, look, KCA Eagle dropped off because I wasn't giving away stuff for like 2 weeks. KCA, you're out. Look how fresh these hats are. I might have to keep one of these for myself, man. I might have to keep one. I might have to keep one of these. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with these? I love these hats. All right, but I got 5 of these. I also got one of these. I got this because I was fascinated by this. I'm like, and I saw BG wearing it. This was like the official parade hat. It's pink. I know the letters are pink, but I don't know. I can wear pink. I know some of you cheesecakes won't wear pink, but look at Taco Star. Taco, I'm afraid of pink. Nah, pink's dope. But I have this. All right, so we can give that away. Look at the box of shit I got. Look at the box. I got shirts everywhere. All right, they're all Super Bowl shirts. All right, I got the official Nike ones they were wearing on the field. So I got everything. All right, I got a bunch of Super Bowl merch to give away. All right, and I'm going to give it away. So I won't be giving away anything today, but I did want to show you guys what I got in. So we'll do that. We'll have a little bit of fun with it. All right, only members, obviously, as always. Most of our members are still here. Chip, Curtis, Daz, appreciate you, Daz, Dank Bird Gang. So everybody. So all the people, Crowley, Bird Gang Girl, Philly Ossifer, Cody B. Look at this, man. Yeah, I like the pink hat. See, you guys are crazy, man. See, I mean, you guys know me, though. I wear colored Kangos. So you guys obviously know I have no issue with a little bit of pink on a baseball hat. All right? Come on. Come on. You guys know that about me. But, no, I think the hat's fresh. I think all the merch is fresh, man. Everything's pretty good that came. So look at KCA. The guy already upgrades. The guy already upgraded. KCA, your opportunistic nature is unbelievable. But I appreciate you becoming a member, all right? So we'll do some stuff. Look at Big Sills. Look at this asshole. Yo, Big Sills, what's the matter? You missed me? You missed me over the weekend, Sills. How about Big Sills last night on WIP? Celio! This is your city, Sills. This is your city, Sills. Pink is a legendary color. All right. I got a pink Kango. You see it back there? I got a pink Kango. Fly Eagles is a member. Howard Nalty's a member. No Limits a member. Everybody's still, most of you are still members. All right. So I appreciate it. The hats are all, I think I got all for this reason. They're all snaps. Yeah, I got all the snaps, which is dope, by the way. There's an eagle logo on the snap. All right. But no, I got all snaps for that reason because I don't know how to size hats. All right. The Kangos are in snaps, obviously. I wear a large in Kango. If anybody ever wants to, send over a Kango, which I do not need. I'm a large in Kango. I got a big dome. All right. I need like 30 opportunistic new members. Yeah, we'll see. Curtis, we'll see. We'll see what we'll do. I'm going to get a little creative. All right. I'm going to get a little creative for sure. I'm going to get a little creative on the giveaways. We'll do some fun stuff. And I always have fun, obviously, doing all that for you guys. So Philly Don says, don't forget us legends. Philly Don, would I ever forget the legends? I mean, don't be crazy, Philly Don. What do you think I am? Cilio? What do you think I am, Philly Don? Forget the legends? Forget? Who do you think forget? Can I ask you a question, Philly Don? Who do you think I am? Philly Don. Forget. Forget. Legends are half the reason we're on the air right now. I don't forget my legends. Absolutely not. I don't forget any of our viewers. All right. Even Taco Star, who's crying about the pink hat, but he's not even a member. You're not even have a chance to win it, Taco. I'm sending you it anyway. Send me your address, Taco Star. This will be in the mail. All right. I'm just kidding. You're not getting it. You're not a member. But I appreciate all you guys. I'm going to send you a Timo Kango. No. I don't rock Timu Kangos. All right. I go right on Kango.com, add them to the cart, and check out. All right. All right. Curtis says, Sills is killing me. In the same episode, he'll go blowtorch one take and the Eagles are doing things the right way. Well, Curtis, there's a macro and a micro. The macro, Cilio understands what they're doing. I think we all do. They got to get a little cheaper, man. They got so many good players. All right. They got so many good players. In the micro, You're like, we lost Milton, we lost Sweat, we lost Becton, we lost everybody. So it's hard to not be like, oh, there's some shit to criticize. And we picked up Emilio Uche. Emilio Uche. As Cilio has now framed him. I don't even know how he says it, all right? It's good stuff, though. Big Sills gets wild in the micro. Yes, he does. That's part of what makes Sills great. Yeah, I think, I didn't hear him. Sills, I didn't hear you last night. I have to go back and listen. They didn't bail on you, did they, Sills? Yeah, Cilio was on with Marcus Hayes last night, 10:30. Let me go find that. I got to find that interview. I have to go listen to it. I was supposed to listen to it live, but I didn't. I did not listen to it live. Let me see if I can find that sucker. I don't know if they do it. Do they post it? I'll look for it. Oh, great. Nice. They had Sills on WIP. How about that? It's Cilio's world, everybody. We're just living in it. You can love them. You can hate them. It doesn't matter. You're going to hear them. You're going to hear them. All right? Sills is the reason Hooters fell. I think they got plenty of other issues. I don't think that was the issue. No, I don't think that was the issue. All right, I love all you guys. Get ready, because I got more stuff here than I know what to do with. All right? I got legitimately 35 shirts. 35 shirts. All right? So I got plenty of stuff to give away. Giveaways are back on JAKIB. Probably not going to do as consistent. Remember, there was days where we were giving away 3-4 jerseys a day. All right. You know, in the offseason, JAKIB doesn't quite make the same. So I gotta be a little bit more sparse with it. But I do have some stuff I'm happy to give away. So appreciate all you guys checking in. Great show today. Appreciate Mike Gill joining as a guest. And we'll be live with you later on, 2 to 6 p.m., the National Football Show, the best show on YouTube. Your host is sitting in here right now. He was great on WIP last night. Appreciate all of you guys. Cody says, do a giveaway today. Cody, I can't be bought. All right? Now, I could be, but I'm not going to be bought with only one new member, and it's KCA, who I would have predicted a day ago. He'll be a member once I say we're doing giveaways. I mean, that's KCA for you, all right? That's KCA. So I'm not going to do one today, all right? But I appreciate all of you guys. Love all you guys. Hit that like button. The family is strong. The bloodline. We have our own bloodline here, all right? Forget Roman Reigns' bloodline or whatever it is. We got our own bloodline, all right, here in JAKIB land. All right, so I love all you guys. See you next time, everybody, on JAKIB Sports. We'll be live later on. National Football Show, 2 to 6. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.